One of the most dangerous thorns inside the church today isn't just sin or rebellion or unbelief. It's spiritual busyness, right? Doing everything for God while slowly losing intimacy with God. Activity is not the same as fruit. And Jesus never said, by their schedule, you will know them, right? Mark chapter 4:19 says that the thorns, they choke the word, right? And it becomes unfruitful, not inactive. And you can be busy and still be barren, right? You can be serving, posting, planning, praying, and still feel empty inside, right? Because busyness fills your schedule, but fruit fills your spirit, right? Busyness produces exhaustion, whereas fruit produces life. One drains you, whereas the other one nourishes you. Spiritual busyness looks holy, but it quietly suffocates your soul, right? It's the thorn that hides behind good intentions, right? You're doing everything right, but you're doing it from pressure, from a schedule, and not from just presence, right? You're moving fast, but you're not growing deep. You're impressing people, but you're not necessarily pleasing God, because people applaud your pace, but God looks at your roots. And busyness keeps you actively working for the kingdom, right? But it can distract. Fruit looks like strength and endurance in precarious times. That kind of fruit transforms you. Busyness hides burnout, but fruit reveals your real health, right? And when you're stretched thin, even prayers feel rushed. Worship feels mechanical, and rest just feels impossible. You can't hear God clearly when you're in constant motion, right? And it's not because you're sinful, but because you're stretched too thin. And I'm pretty sure God told us to implement a Sabbath somewhere in Scripture, right? That time of rest to avoid this problem. Jesus isn't asking you to do more. He's asking you to grow more. And growth doesn't come from constant motion. It comes from abiding in Him, right? So maybe the most spiritual thing that you can do today, that I can do today, is to slow down and let the word breathe again, right? Let your soul rest again, because fruit doesn't come from busyness. It comes from being with Him, right? So where has spiritual busyness replaced spiritual fruit in your life? And what is Jesus inviting you to release? I keep having to remind myself to step back and to just abide at times, right? I'm a super busy girl. I need to be extra intentional about slowing down. And can you still be busy and still abide in Him? Can you do both? Absolutely. But the key is noticing when you're slipping into that kind of autopilot mode and forgetting about pursuing that depth, in your relationship with God. So I challenge you to take a minute to notice whether or not you're in autopilot mode, right?